A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Meenakshi, welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and First View Group in today's webinar on Solar Market Outlook Middle East 2023. I take the pleasure to thank our panel members for extending their immense support to organize this event, and a very special thanks to our partner Clenergy for their immense support to organize this event. In 2023, the Middle East solar business is anticipated to keep expanding quickly for a number of reasons. The region's steadfast dedication to using renewable energy and lowering carbon emissions is one of the key factors promoting development. The region's renewable energy industry will receive more attention and emphasis as a result of the UAE hosting COP28 in 2023, which could result in more chances of growth and investment. The virtual webinar will highlight several key trends emerging in the industry as the region builds its solar capacity, and a discussion on recent opportunities and challenges related to major initiatives taken by the government to achieve the sustainability goal. I would now request my team to play the promotional video. Thank you, team. May I introduce Mr. Sameer Jacob, Global Marketing Manager, Clenergy, to give the presentation for his company. Over to you, Mr. Jacob.
Thank you, Meenakshi, and really appreciate everybody's time here today. My name is Sameer Jacob with Clenergy, coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. I'm just going to quickly open up my screen here. Share system audio, yes. Oh, interesting. Sorry. Okay, share tab. Okay, I'm hoping that the audio will come across. There wasn't a button that let me playing a video. Yes, okay, cool. Can you see my screen there, Meenakshi?
It's loading, Sameer.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing. Apologies, everybody. I'm going to try again. Playing video, yes. Share screen. Share tab audio, video, yes. Share, okay. Now?
Yes, your screen is.
Very good. Technology works. Okay. Thank you once again, everybody. My name is Sameer Jacob. We're Clenergy, enabling carbon neutrality. Thank you, the team at Solar Quarter, at this event for Solar Market Outlook for Middle East 2023. Without further ado, let's just jump in, and let me have the opportunity here to introduce our company. In terms of our mission is to be that enabler, whether for governments, private enterprise, or public sector. Every company, every government out there has a mission towards either 2040 or 2050 for carbon neutrality. And we as a company feel that with our products and services, we want to be that enabler, whether it be from our solar mounting gear or our cable management services, or tomorrow our electronic products, all of which help companies go through and reach their carbon neutrality goals. In terms of us as a company, we are founded in Melbourne and being publicly listed, and have our manufacturing facilities across Australia, Indonesia, and China. We just hit our 15-year anniversary this year, and also our 20 gigawatt mark in terms of solar mounting installations. Number one in Australia, top 5 in China, heaps of patents. We do global distribution for our PV Easy Rack, which is our racking brand, Runner, our cable management brand, and Jerry, our portable power battery solutions. We do also supply direct to projects in China and Japan, where we have EPC services, PPA services, and contract manufacturing. And out of Europe, specifically in Germany, we also are a developer of projects. This is where we are globally. We did start mainly in Australia and Southeast Asia, across Japan, China, and Australia. But over the last year and a half, we have aggressively been expanding the business across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And honestly, almost every month, bringing on a new distributor on board. Just to give you an idea of our presence, this is some of our booths here in Australia. Our team is, the team there is about 30 people, but we've now almost touched 50. In Japan, another set of, close to 25, 30 staff there. And we've just had massive amount of exposure across Europe and Southeast Asia with events just this month in France, Indonesia, and Austria. In terms of our two main product lines, we've got PV Easy Rack, which is solar mounting, and Runner, which is our cable tray business. So just to dive into our solar mounting gear, which is our flagship brand, we've got a couple of sub-brands in here. So whether it's roof mount for solar roof, or ground mount, which we call as our solar terrace, or tracker systems, Easy Tracker. And we also have our premium rooftop product, which is called Clenergy Hollywood, which is an all-black racking series, as well as we do have ground structures for our carports and post mount. Thought I'll give you a little snapshot of all of our products together. Cool. In terms of our roof mount products, whether it's tin roofs, tile roofs, or flat roofs, we've got solutions for the lot. From a tin roof perspective, whether it's penetrative or non-penetrative, with non-penetrative, we've got solutions there with adjustable tilts, and also, for example, one in the middle, which is our tripod series, which is the pre-assembled kits, makes it a lot easier in terms of installations. And also we do have our commercial tilt systems, which is at a shorter tilt, and everything also does come pre-assembled. That version is also available for concrete roofs, where you can use a chemical adhesive to drill into the roof there and affix your rails and the rest of the clamps and such. We also do have other solutions for concrete roofs in terms of ballast systems as well, as you can see right there. In terms of non-penetrative roofs, depending on the various profiles of tin, we have a range of clamps that's on the left and as well as the middle to show you some of the clamps that we have. And in terms of penetrative, our ever so popular L feet. In terms of clamps, on the far right, you'll see there, I mean, that's just a couple of them in terms of the shape of the matching various roof profiles, but we've got more than, I think, another 20 different kinds. So no matter what the type of roofs you have out there, I'm sure we've got a solution to fit. The reason why I wanted to show that clip to everybody here today is from a solar mounting company. We look at everything from a structural and civil engineering perspective. So we're looking at terrain conditions as well as wind regions, and that all helps us in terms of understanding the clip lock spacing, the panels, clamping spacing, and so on and so forth. This is a quick little clip there, a couple of images there for our all black series. As you can see, when you match that with all black panels, you don't even see the racking there on the roof there on the final install. It just blends all in together for a clean finish. In terms of ground mount, we've got structures there from the far left, Solar Terrace 2, 3, and 5, all depending on the wind conditions and the durability that you're looking for. And as you progress through the series, we've got it in terms of more robustness. And in terms of tracker systems, whether it's a single panel in portrait or double panel and portrait in the middle, or if you're looking for systems with more smarts, looking at looking at various climate conditions, and then the system automatically adjusting itself depending on the climate prior to the heavy winds hitting that system. We've got all systems to suit. This is just a quick example I want to show you of our tracker system, which is what you see here is a system that was installed started on the September of 2020, and they finished installation round about December 2020. Roughly, I believe, just under 300 megawatts. The total site is, I believe, about 700 megawatts, where just under 300 was on tracker systems. And this one here is 2 panels in portrait, but also on a tilt frame. Cool. And then ground structures. On the far left, you've got our Easy Shade series, which is our carports. This particular version on Easy Shade 2.0 comes in 2 colors, silver and black. It also comes in 2 size variants of single or double bay. And of course, that's scalable. So if you're looking for shopping centers or large facilities, you could obviously match them in pairs and then scale them up. We also have Easy Shade Razor, which is a single post on one side. That's an installation there in Japan at a Tesla supercharger carport. And then we also have post mounts, which is really popular in agriculture and farming areas, whether you're looking at a singular panel right up to 8 panels, where the regular panels are up to XL size. In terms of global installations and a global company, we've got projects across Germany and the United States and Australia. So, I mean, we've got a fairly wide footprint over the last 15 years. In terms of our cable management solutions, as I mentioned earlier, this is our Runner series, which additionally has a matte finish. What is a matte finish? It's a magnesium zinc alloy, which basically it's another set of treatment that the trays go through to give it that extra bit of robustness for the future. And what that means is basically over time, if there are any cuts or scrapes, it's actually a solution that's on the surface of the cable tray that will actually self-heal itself over time. Which actually, from a commercial perspective, gives you that longevity. Additionally, because we are originally a company that's within the solar industry, all of our cable trays come in 2 versions in terms of the lids, with a standard lid versus also a solar DC lid, which already has the words solar DC and warning, the word warning already pre-stamped. So you can leave the spray can where you want to, with the stencil and write the word warning on, or if you want to put labels on, you don't have to worry about it. All of our cable trays already come pre-embossed. Just to give you an idea about the flexibility of the system from going from a low to high riser or various turns and junctions, etc. For us as a company, and I'm coming towards the end of my presentation, for us it's very important in terms of giving back to society. Our CEO there on the far right-hand side, Daniel Hong, has a mission towards looking after various charities out there. We do give to the It's Time Foundation, which is on the top left-hand side image, which is we provide ground mount systems across the Pacific Islands to various remote schools that are off the grid, and providing those children with now today a modern education, provided that they have now the internet and 24/7 power with solar and batteries. It is one of the best places that I personally have ever worked in terms of employee care, and we're all about global social welfare. We've partnered with a couple of universities in terms of the World Global Solar Challenge, which is a solar car race that goes from Darwin to Adelaide, about 3,000 kilometers, about 2 universities thus far. And we've also partnered with Monash University for their EV Formula student racing as well. All ways of giving back to universities who are championing the world of solar and batteries. In terms of our online presence, we've got loads of podcasts and panel discussions ourselves and testimonies and industry awards. I invite you all to check out our social channels. If you're looking for our products, I invite you to go over to Clenergy.com and then click on the tab that says distributors. And if you can click on the filter there, and you can go down to Middle East, and you'll find Power and Sun, our partner there in Dubai. In terms of our content, if you're looking at want to know what's happening in updates from us, you can always subscribe to our Chronicle, which is right there on our homepage. And for our rest of our channels there, we're across all of the socials. We update them on a daily basis, so you can have a look at that. And if you are actually an installer, we invite you to go on to our Facebook learning group, which is the last tab there, called Clenergy Club, where if you've got questions on our product, you can post them with pictures, and there are installers around the world who will answer your query very, very quickly. That's it from myself. Again, my name is Samir Jacob from Clenergy. Back to you, Meenakshi. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for the presentation, Samir. Now, allow me to introduce the panel for today. We have Mr. Samir Zawayedeh, Carbon Market National Expert, Mr. Sameer Jacob from Clenergy, Ms. Uma Nathani from Al Jamaya Energy and Water Company, Mr. Walid Alhaj from Amarenko Group, Mr. Ibrahim Radi from Green Innova, and Mr. Raymond Everett from Amia Power. Mr. Zavayede will be the moderator for the session. Here, I would like to make a small announcement. Attendees can post their questions in the Q&A box, and our speakers will answer those at the end of the panel discussion. Now, without any further delay, let's initiate our much-awaited panel discussion for today. Over to you, Mr. Sameer Zavayede.
Thank you very much, Meenakshi, for this brilliant introduction and support. As always, you're doing fantastic job. Great thanks to Solar Quarter, and we are very extremely happy for our supporters and for bringing all this group of excellent speakers. So thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all for being part of this solar world and solar, let's say, expansion and growth during the past 10 years. We have reached or we have passed the 1 terawatt of installed capacity around the world, and this is really extremely important. And yearly we will have around 300 gigawatt or more of installation. So it took the world 40 years to reach the first gigawatt, and we will start installing another terawatt of installation every 2 or 3 years. So this is really a big achievement for the humankind, a human race, and you are the reason that this is happening. So thank you very much. And we thank also our audience for being part of this growth. Thank you very much. I'd like to start with Uma, because she's the only woman. And just being, let's say, initiative and giving her the floor. So I hope that all of you approves. Uma, can you hear us?
Yes, Sameer, you're very much audible.
Yes. Uma has almost 15 years of experience in investments and project finance across MENA and Asia regions in utilities such as RWE, renewables, and NG. She currently fills in the position of Director of Project Finance for Al Jumeirah Energy and Water, leading the project financing in large utility scale renewable and conventional power, as well as also water projects in their portfolio in UAE, KSA, Oman, Egypt, India, and Central Asia. Uma has an MBA in finance degree from IIT Bombay, as well as an IT engineering degree from IIEST in India. Thank you very much for being with us, Uma. This is really an honor. I'd like to start by asking you about what do you think is the current status of solar market in the Middle East, and what are some of the key trends and challenges that are shaping the industry? Over to you, Uma.
Thank you so much, Sameer. It is an opportunity also, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak at this event. Am I audible properly?
Yes, perfect.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. So the status of solar market in this in the MENA region. To start with, if I can take the opportunity to explain that solar, the way it is now being copied or followed in by the rest of the markets, has been defined rather by this market itself 10 years back, when this is the market where the first time parity was created between conventional power as well as uh, renewable power being solar. So this is the market which has led this entire revolution of solar being an energy which is much more sustainable, which is much more cost effective versus conventional, and therefore the revolution in terms of gigawatts piling up all over the world. So from that perspective, the second revolution which is now brewing up in this market is to take the solar from not just a capacity towards which is being developed, but to a leaps and bounds to a mega large scale projects. That's the kind of scale which is being looked at in this geography. And this geography is again redefining what itself can be called as a project or a phase, because the entire capacity water which is being bid out or which is being envisaged by the countries within this small region versus the rest of the world would be equivalent to the capacity which is being looked at countries in Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Africa, all combined, and maybe much more. So, from that perspective, the key trend that solar in this market is having is extremely large projects. If you look at it, Saudi itself has around 60 gigawatts of renewable capacity committed by 2030. So we are looking at, in the next 7 years, 60 gigawatts of renewables coming in Saudi alone. And then there are rest of the countries. Total 80 gigawatts of renewable capacity is expected to come online by 2030 within the Middle East itself, if we look at it. So that's the kind of scale we are talking about. So scale is the buzzword for this round of revolution which is being created by this market, and the rest of the markets are supposed to follow, are going to follow. And the reason for why the scale has been achieved is because of several factors which has worked well, which has worked right every time there has been a particular strategy which has been adopted, and that is which has led to this, and it is supposed to only grow moving forward.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you. We are going to see big sizes of projects in the near future, and I like the idea that you said project or phases. So just an indication of how big projects that we are expecting to see in the near future. I'd like to ask you about the financing and investment opportunities available for solar projects in the Middle East. You are a finance expert. Are there any challenges in accessing funding, and what are some strategies to overcoming these challenges? Over to you, Uma.
Right. So Samir, basically, when there is financing, when there is dollars which is available, the projects happen. So somewhere financing, while may look as a small part of the total project cost, that is the one which is triggering the entire setup and making sure these projects are able to make what has been envisaged. Financing has been the key to having such a huge leverage of opportunities, or the growth of opportunities, the explosion of opportunities that this market is currently witnessing. But now, as we see in the last 10 years, there are a number of projects which have been already bid out and already been operating. Those projects are also coming up for a further demand of refinancing, because there is a very standard practice of this market looking at mini perms, which is a soft mini perm or a hard mini perm. So in those kind of projects, there is a refinancing which is pretty much integral out of the original financing structure itself. So there is a, a phenomenon of a lot of refinancings also which is surfacing, which is also demanding that capital which is available, the liquidity which is available, and that is definitely competing with the original finance or the greenfield projects which are available. That's one thing which, as a challenge, the market is facing to compete with the operational projects in terms of allocation of the liquidity which is available with the lenders, in terms of equity as well. Um, as well as there is another point with respect to the base rate transition, which the entire market is seeing internationally, where from the LIBOR there has been a transition to SOFR. And not all banks have been able to really learn the ways of working towards LIBOR, towards SOFR. So that's one thing which the banks are now only learning to work with. So that's another thing that some of the banks are really, you know, working their ways around it. And USD liquidity is something that this market has always had sufficient of it, and has been able to leverage on it, because long term USD liquidity of 30 years, 25 years, that has been standard for the market. But as the number of projects just grow manifold, USD liquidity is also somewhere reaching an exhaustion due to all these abundance of opportunities which are available. So there are other local currency liquidity which is also now being tapped because there is sheer unavailability of only USD at the sizes we are looking at the amount of capital that we are looking at. So these are some of the challenges if we look at from a challenge perspective, but then the opportunity continues to grow, and you see a lot of international lenders also becoming comfortable with the market and therefore chipping in to be able to participate. In fact, there are even development banks who are also entering the market, which is to some extent it is not a standard practice for the development banks. Some of the ones who have only a mandate to work on in countries where there is a lack of commercial availability. But even then, there are these lenders who are going ahead with additional approval to provide additional liquidity in this market as well to add to the liquidity.
Thank you very much. Very good points and highly appreciated. And I'm sure everybody loves hearing about how they can get their hands on financing for the projects. All of us know that the next COP, COP28, will be held in the UAE, and this will drive greater investment and the policy support for renewable energy in the region. What are some of the implications of this on the solar market? Over to you, Uma.
Sure. So clearly, the COP has definitely, at least for the lenders, they have really redefined the whole thing. Lenders are now very conscious because international lenders, especially, have to report or publicly provide how much of carbon has been supported in any year by these lenders, how much carbon emission has been supported by these lenders. So there are very clear targets or maximum caps in terms of carbon exposure that these lenders are able to therefore support. And that is the reason why there is a clear push in terms of making the portfolio more renewable friendly. There is a stronger interest versus the conventional power in terms of international lender, which constitute maximum part of the lender group, to moving towards the renewable projects itself. And within renewables, if we see solar is the major dominating technology in this region. So solar therefore stands to benefit strongly because of COP28, especially from the international lender group. From the regional lender group, there is still not enough limitation which would maneuver them towards renewables only. So they still remain kind of agnostic, but international group has already moved away from anything which is carbon because of this COP28.
Thank you very much, Uma, for answering these three questions and opening the session. Brilliant discussions, brilliant answers. I'm sure that we will come back to you with more questions in our Q&A. Thank you very much. Raymond, are you with us? Raymond?
Yes, I'm here. Just let me switch on my video. Do you see me okay?
Yeah. We see you.
Can you see?
Can we have you as our second speaker?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Raymond is the project development manager at AMEA Power. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering as well as Masters in Power Systems. Raymond has a decade of experience in renewable EPC and development, and over the past 2 years had a primary focus on green hydrogen projects in the Middle East and Africa. Raymond is currently a project development manager, as we said, at AMEA, which is a Dubai-based renewable IPP, and focusing on green hydrogen and carbon credits at the company. So we like to ask you a question about this specific specialization, and we like to learn more about how has green hydrogen progress so far? How do you believe it will develop in the years to come, and its impact on the solar PV industry in the region? Over to you, Raymond.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, the green hydrogen and ammonia and any other derivative has really taken the industry by storm. I'd say within the past 1 to 2 years. In the last year, tremendously so. I'm sure you've seen announcements out of the UAE, the first shipment of blue ammonia, the tenders in Oman, the framework agreements in Egypt, some other agreements in Jordan as well. And you're seeing scales that are totally unheard of, where we've got from probably the smallest scale project is a 1 gigawatt electrolyzer, not even the renewables part, that you tend to increase the amount of renewables for every megawatt of hydrogen, but you have from 1 gigawatt up to 40 gigawatts across the region, which are tremendous. And I know that not all of these projects will go through. Many will be delayed. But having been focused on this for around 2 years now and working with AMIA Power, we have currently 5 MOUs signed, one of which has reached a framework agreement stage, and that is one in Egypt. And we are in advanced development of that. And with the advanced development, obviously comes a lot of studies and things. And relating to this, there is a delicate balance that needs to be addressed when it comes to solar. When it comes to any of these green molecules, whether it's methanol, ammonia, hydrogen, in short, the renewables has to be the source of electricity. Otherwise, and I'm simplifying it here, otherwise it does not qualify as green, which is where the world would like to head to. And now with solar specifically, these systems run 24/7, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And solar, being the cheapest form of renewable energy, serves to average down your cost of green electricity. But because it can't be the sole source of renewables, as these facilities, like I said, they operate 24/7, there comes a balance between averaging down your other source of renewables that you have with it. So typically, what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of solar and wind and battery tied together in symbiosis. But the solar will average down your overall cost. But the balance is whether you get to the point where you're not going to waste that solar, that you're actually going to consume it in your facility and achieve your LCOA. Your LCOA being the levelized cost of ammonia or hydrogen, depending on your final product. But for everybody's reference here, the importance that we found anyway as a renewables developer was that your cost of electricity is actually equivalent, or has an equivalent weighting rather, of 60% of your hydrogen or ammonia. So the solar industry, the renewables industry will play and is playing a very key role in the development of these green molecules. And that's where the opportunity comes for all of us, because obviously there's a tremendous scale here that I was mentioning. And I guess for another 2 points for everybody's reference on this is that your blended LCOE when it comes to hydrogen and ammonia, not necessarily just your solar, not just your wind, but you would like to reach a level of sub 4 cents. So obviously you have to use that solar, which has to be very affordable, to average down your wind that could be a little bit higher in price, but obviously go throughout the night as well. And obviously your batteries as well. You have to bring the average down sub 4. And for the last point for everybody's reference is that when I'm talking about 1 gigawatt electrolyzer or however many gigawatts electrolyzer, if I was to take, for example, here 500 megawatts of electrolyzer, I'd be looking at 1 to 1.4 gigawatts of renewables. And of those 1 to 1.4, I'm looking at roughly 5 to 600 megawatts of solar. And that, when you're looking at the scale that you're seeing the announcements of, that's going to help you achieve the targets that the region has in terms of the rollout and development of solar and renewables.
Okay, thank you very much, Raymond, for this insight. Actually, very nice ballpark figures. I like to follow up on this question because you talked about the balance between solar, wind, and the batteries. When you want to scout for locations, you'll not be able to find a wind and solar location next to each other. You can store the batteries, of course, but it'll be a challenge to find a location where both wind and solar will exist together. So, any ideas about that? How can we I know that we cannot just rely on solar, but what are your thoughts about this?
The wireless connection. No, I'm joking. So yeah, you're right. It's a very good point. You're not going to have them co-located with one another. And in fact, in all of our projects, we actually have quite, a couple hundred kilometers between the different sites. And you have obviously your infrastructure, your hydrogen and ammonia will be next to the port, likely, as a lot of this stuff, a lot of these molecules will be exported or used and we're finding off-takers in Europe and in East Asia. And so where our downstream facilities are located at ports. The upstream, being the renewables, is located where the renewables is good. And solar and wind are not necessarily put together at the same time. So there's two ways to go about this. In Oman, for example, you have direct connection. So each of these facilities will have direct overhead lines or transmission lines to the downstream infrastructures. That, when it comes to large distances and obviously gets expensive, so that's why scale is very important in these things, and it's definitely a cost-benefit analysis that has to be conducted. But under the green regulation, and every different countries, different geographies have different criteria as to what qualifies as a green molecule. The most advanced certification or standard at the moment is called the RED II, which is the Renewable Energy Directive out of Belgium, out of the European Commission for Standardization. And they say that as long as the renewables is geographically correlated, meaning that they have to be installed on the same grid, and you have a temporal correlation, so a time matching, you can qualify that energy as green. And so it's similar to the wheeling mechanism in Jordan. Actually, it is a wheeling mechanism, but this is certified by a European entity. So for example, in our projects in Egypt, which is, like I said, our most advanced one, we have our downstream infrastructure in Ain al-Sokhna, which is a very busy port. And then we have our upstream infrastructure in the southern Egypt, so the Aswan area. And what we're able to do is we're able to connect to the grid in West Aswan, or in Aswan, where we have the sites. The transmission relatively exists. There's going to be upgrades that the local utility has to do, but for simplicity, the transmission exists, and you can prove that technically an electron may travel from point of generation to point of consumption. Although it's unlikely this will actually happen, technically it is feasible. But then, as long as I am on the same grid, that is point one. And number two, I'm able to say that at let's say, for example, 3 p.m., I'm producing 100 megawatts, and by latest 4 p.m., I have consumed 100 megawatts. Then that energy that I am producing and consuming is considered green, and my molecule at the end is now valid as green with a certificate.
Thank you very much, Raymond. I have one more question regarding the grids. Are these microgrids, meaning separate grids from the national grids, or these are connected to the national grid? Because you're talking about really big projects, 1 megawatt or 2 gigawatts, sorry. So these are really big projects, and I'm not sure that the national grids can withstand them.
Yeah, you're right. In some cases, it can't. For example, I know that in Mauritania, there was a project. I know this, I'm shifting away from the region a little bit here.
Yeah.
But in Mauritania, there was a project that was announced, which was 40 gigawatts. And I think the total installed capacity of Mauritania is sub 2. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was significantly smaller. And of course, that grid cannot handle, by no means, the amount of renewable to be injected. And so, yes, you have to create, in those cases, you have to create a microgrid. But for example, for us in Egypt, where you have a grid that is quite substantial, you have 55 grids of connected of total capacity. They don't use 55 gigawatts. They don't use 55 gigawatts. But if you're installing, for example, 10 gigawatts onto those 55, that is tolerable by the grid. Right, it's still a large capacity, and it still has to be addressed. And the local utility, EETC, is doing studies along with us and all the other developers that have signed framework agreements to make sure that this is all feasible. Because at the end of the day, they would be responsible for that transmission if we are to connect to them. Otherwise, yes, we have to go with our own independent connections.
Thank you very much, Raymond, and I'm sure that we will get back to you with more questions in the Q&A.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Walid, are you with us? Walid?
Yes, sir.
Oh, brilliant.
Azadeen.
Walid is a great friend and very proud of his achievements so far. He has almost a decade of experience in solar energy, and he's been working for EPC consultation, manufacturing, development. He developed hundreds of projects around MENA region. He's currently filling the position of head of business development at Amarenco Group, where he oversees the development and acquisition of commercial and industrial projects in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Egypt, Jordan, and Morocco. Walid has a mechanical engineering degree from the University of Jordan and currently is pursuing his MBA from Edinburgh Business School in the UK. Walid, we'd like to ask you about the new topic which is on the mind of many here. Storage. What impact would the storage have on both utility scale and distributed generation solar markets around the region? Over to you, Walid.
Shukran, Samer. Thank you very much for the opportunity to reconnect with everyone. Storage has always been a lovely idea, much more than an actual concept to do. And I was very close to that part of the equation where I was with Jinko Solar, and we were developing the energy storage solutions for the MENA region. The energy storage is going to be heavily affected by, in my opinion, two factors. The first one is what Raymond mentioned, which is the green hydrogen, where at the end of the day, you will require to have energy storage mostly in most of the green hydrogen projects. And these projects are massive. As you know, for today, the biggest operational project is, I think, Dhafra is still not operational. We are talking about 1.2, 1.5 gigawatt at a single location. Now, when we go for hydrogen, we are talking about 2-3 gigawatt of power requirements. Add on top of that the solar needs. So solar energy storage in general, is going to be heavily pushed by the green hydrogen application. Adding on top of that I see in my personal view that the utility scale projects are becoming stronger in the region with less focus on the commercial industrial, which is something that I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. I think solar is there to decentralize the entire power sector. And now while we push day after day for utility scale projects, look at Saudi Arabia, look at UAE, look at Qatar. Qatar has just 2 big projects and both of them are basically utility scale. In my opinion, that takes some of the advantages that solar has. And I think a lot of countries around the region have learned a lot from Jordan, to be honest, because Jordan's, maybe some people can look at it as a success story of implementation of solar, and some people will look at it as a big lesson not to be repeated other places where you just allow people to do net metering and use the grid as a solar battery. Whatever the scenario is, energy storage is definitely decisive in both sectors. We come from a region in the Middle East where it's either extremely advanced when it comes to the grid, or there is no grid at all. If you look at our market, you have Jordan, UAE, countries with very advanced grid and the high electrification rate. And then you go and you look at Iraq, and you look at Lebanon, and you look at Yemen, where energy storage is required on a decentralized basis. In my opinion, energy storage is the focal point that is going to switch the use of renewable energy from an auxiliary, cleaner source of power to a major main supplier that can supply both utility scale and distributed generation projects around the region.
Thank you very much, Walid. Actually, talking about storage and growth and demand. We like to hear from you more to dive in more into the market growth in MENA region. And from your experience, what do you expect will be a decent growth between, let's say, in the next 2 years, this year and next year? Over to you, Walid.
This is a question that maybe before I was a little bit more naive at the earlier stage of my career, and I was always extremely optimistic. And I think we are running out of energy to remain optimistic, because in my opinion, the market, as per again distributed generation utility, is doing great. We have the biggest projects in the world. We are securing the lowest levelized cost of energy, REBDO 3, REBDO 4, REBDO 5 even. And there is a new project in Qatar. So big scale projects, utility scale projects are doing well, are doing great. But in my opinion, the real thermometer of these markets should always be the commercialized and commercial and industrial sectors. And to be frank, I think we could do way much more. If you look at Saudi Arabia, the regulations are out since 2017. I remember 1st of July 2017, where I was just very happy that the Saudi market is going to explode. Until now, it's extremely limited. Regulations are on, off, partially ready and partially not ready. Everybody is building at zero export net self-consumption projects without getting the approval of the grid operator even. In UAE, you cannot get more than 1 megawatt approval. In Jordan, you cannot get more than, I think, 200 kilowatt these days without having to struggle a lot with the grid operators. Other than that, many markets do not yet have regulations in place. Morocco, for example, we have been looking at Morocco for years. Most of the solar installation in Morocco now are agricultural use, solar pumping. Look at Egypt. The currency devaluation is destroying the market feasibility. So to be honest, I don't think we are doing as good as we could. We could have been using so much more aspects to expand truly the use of solar energy in this region. But as we always say, or as we have always said before, we are optimistic that the next couple of years things are going to be in a better place. And hopefully storage, going back to storage, is going to play a major role in that part, either with the grid or without it.
Definitely, what you're saying is valid.
Fact.
Yes, and these are facts we are experiencing. But the good thing is solar is moving fast. The technology is moving fast. It's becoming more efficient, and the prices are will definitely be reduced with the learning curve of the solar with these big projects. So we will see some kind of economies of scale. From your experience now, maybe with Raymond told us about the hydrogen. Can you tell us a little bit more, since you're working in project development, are you seeing an interest in green hydrogen, and what should we expect from the solar energy in MENA, how to support this new growth sector? Over to you, Walid.
Well, I'm just going to add to what Raymond said, because I think we are doing a very similar work. We have also signed actually the same number, 5 MOUs, and one of them has reached the framework agreement stage at an advanced stage also in Egypt. And there is a lot of hype around green hydrogen. And in my opinion, we understand at the end of the day, green hydrogen can replace the entire energy use, while solar applications can replace the electrical ones only. And combining both, green hydrogen is the only way that we can reach our 100% decarbonization targets. But if you look at the technology itself today and the feasibility behind it, it is still immature and still requires so much work. And sometimes you think that maybe the hype is a little bit exaggerated, because it is still not everybody is signing project now hoping to install them in 4 or 5 years. because still the levelized cost of hydrogen is still not competitive for green hydrogen. And at the end of the day, fine, everybody is pushing for a greener application, but it needs to make sense financially for it to really expand the way we want it to expand. With all of this effort and research and development and investment and efforts from companies that are doing this all over the world, of course, prices go down and we reach where we want to reach. But at the end of the day, green hydrogen, in my opinion, cannot be considered anything in the short term. I don't think we are going to see real projects other than these proto projects that we see with people shaking hands and the delivery of the first container to somewhere in Europe. And this is just to prove the concept, but this is not the industry itself. I think green hydrogen is great. It's amazing. It's a great solution eventually. But I think it's a little bit overhyped when it comes to how much effort you should push in it. I think there is so much for us to do in solar and wind and storage before we switch to that part.
Thank you very much, Waleed, for your insights, and I'm sure that we will get back to you with more questions in the Q&A session. Mr. Ibrahim, are you with us?
Yes.
Excellent. Mr. Ibrahim Radhi is the co-founder and board member of Green Innova. I will give you the floor to give us like 2-3 lines about Green Innova and a little bit about your background. Over to you, Ibrahim.
Well, I'm Ibrahim Radhi. Green Innova is a solar EPC contractors in Bahrain. We have been in the market now for the last 5 years, working with major companies like Amazon, Babco, Alba, and other major companies in Bahrain. Myself, my background is industrial engineer from University of Cambridge. Been in the market for 15 years, particularly 5 good years in the energy sector. And I do a part-time lecturing at American University of Bahrain.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Can you tell us about the projects of Green Innova? I assume that you're working also in carbon and in the solar. What are the developments going on in Bahrain? Over to you.
Thank you, Samir. Well, now we are installing 5 megawatt project in city center, which is one of the largest malls in Bahrain. We are installing ground mount 1 megawatt for Mondelez, which is a large international manufacturer. We are working with our partner, like the developers like Kelidor, like CleanMax in this project. We have installed also in hospitals around 1 megawatt for King Hamad AMH hospital. And I think the government now is working in bringing more major projects. We are working with EWA in developing the new renewable energy action plan that I think will bring more and more projects in Bahrain.
Very interesting, very interesting. And how do you see the new generation? This is like a soft question regarding the students that you are teaching at the university.
Yes.
Are they ready to receive to work in the solar field, hydrogen storage?
Well, I think capacity building is way to go in our region. What will drive really the solar industry engineers is people. Once they are educated, not only being aware, because we have a lot of good awareness, a lot of news about solar and renewable and hydrogen. But really what will drive things forward is people's being capable and knowing the nuts and bolts of solar system. So for us, we have developed, professional qualification in the domain of solar system, and we have our Green Innova Academy that support this. Yes, I believe the youth has the, let's say, the enthusiastic to start them the renewable. They know that this is a future, and we can see a lot of good students coming to us saying we want to be part of this new hype, the future of the sustainability.
Brilliant. And how do you see Green Innova serving the solar sector in Bahrain? Where do you see Green Innova in 5 years?
Well, I would see Greenova as a major EPC. In Bahrain, we are working with the large companies and the government, and with our friends like Walid in his development company, and many others as well. We believe that we want to contribute to this movement. We have started as an early player in Bahrain market since 2017, and we hope that we remain a major player, enabling a lot of also youth along our journey.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim, Dr. Ibrahim, for this insight. And we will move to the Q&A session now. Meenakshi, are you with us? Meenakshi. Yes, brilliant.
Yes.
We need your support now with questions identified, questions from the audience, please.
Right. As I can see, we don't have too many questions, and we are also running short of time right now. So I would like to conclude this webinar by thanking all our esteemed speakers for this wonderful session. And I would like to thank all our audience. So with this, we have come to an end to this virtual event, and a very special thanks to Mr. Zawahiriadeh for superbly managing this session. A big shout out to all our attendees for extending their time and support. We promise to be back with another exciting session soon. The floor is now open for networking. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.